This is a CBC color presentation.
Again, from coast to coast, it's Hockey Night in Canada. Brought to you by Imperial Oil Limited, and Esso dealers, agents, and distributors serving your community.
Good evening, hockey fans. Danny Red Wings. At 14-15, Detroit took the lead. It was McCord from Hampson and Howe, and then the Canadiens came back with 2 goals. At 15:01, it was Richard from Russo and Price, and at 16:30, Rochefort unassisted. In just a moment, we'll be back along with Frank Selke, and Frank will have the videotape highlights of the first period on Hockey Night in Canada.
Canada, go Esso, Canada, go Esso, Canada, go Esso, in Centennial here. See fresh, bright Canada in 67. Great things to do, great things to see, great fun for you, great places to be. It's Gratesville, and Esso's with you all the way.
Next year, you'll find new travel aids from Esso, like at Expo. Esso will be on hand with official information. Official on the spot, official on the way. The only single source of official information on the road and on the Expo aisle. Just one of many surprises coming from Esso to help you swing confidently through Canada 67.
You're in for the year of your life, touring Canada in 67. Canada, go Esso, where Esso's with you all the way.
Frank Selke in the intermission studio, and as you know, of course, the score 2-1. It wasn't much of a hockey game in point of view of good scoring chances until just about the time that Bob McCord opened the scoring for the Red Wings. Let's have a look at that play. Danny Galvin is going to describe it as Bob McCord of the Red Wings makes it 1-0. 6 minutes and 32 seconds remain, no score. Howe for Detroit shoots it in. The rebound goes to Hampson. He backhands it to the corner. LaPerriere for Montreal. Getting set with Ralph Backstrom, who takes the pass. Here's Backstrom coming through center, and McCord breaks it up. And Detroit's strategy so far, playing semi-defensive at times, sending that defense into the center ice area. Now Provo coming out over the line. Couldn't get the pass away. McCord over on the other side to Delvecchio. Delvecchio, a long shot. Ted Harris into the corner, comes in front. Howe almost got it. Now Hampson gets it back to the point. McCord for Detroit, getting set for the shot. He scores! In the play leading up to that goal, you had a pretty good sample of the kind of hockey that was played in that first period. Canadians didn't really have a good scoring chance at all up to the 12-minute mark. The Red Wings came back with one when Bruce McGregor, almost off the face-off, walked in on Gump Worsley, but Gump made the save. But Henry Richard came back on a beautiful passing play with Bobby Russo and Noel Price. Danny Galvin is ready to describe the play for us. Henry Richard tying the score for Montreal. Slides it across the goal mouth. Russo for Montreal. He's on with Richard and Duff. Comes to center. Smith breaks it up, and Detroit starting back. McGregor fails to take it in. Noel Price ahead to Russo, working through center. Our pass goes to Richard. He's going right into goal. He scores! Henry certainly picked the top corner on that one. For those of you at home that might be wondering about Hank Basson in the nets, Sid Abel, the coach and general manager of the Red Wings, has been a little bit disappointed with the way Roger Crozier has been playing lately. He has benched Roger for tonight. The Canadiens came back to make it 2-1 on a goal by Leon Rochefort, just again shortly after Richard's goal. Danny Galvin is ready to describe the play for us. Leon Rochefort giving the Canadiens the lead 2-1. Bathgate, who was just robbed by Worsley, backhands a weak shot toward the corner. Ab McDonald taken in on the boards by Harris. Watson was belted there by Ferguson. Rochefort a long pass. Ballone couldn't get it. Logan fails to clear it out. There's a backhand shot. They score! Rochefort! So that's the way it is here in Montreal tonight, 2-1 at the end of the first period. This afternoon out in Vancouver, the Regina Rough Riders 29, the Ottawa Rough Riders 14, all of us on Hockey Night in Canada. Congratulations to the Regina team on their first Grey Cup victory ever. And certainly condolences to the Rough Riders from Ottawa, who had a tremendous season and were defeated by a great team. Some people have all the luck, and Dick Irvine is one of them. He was out in Vancouver for the festivities, and he chatted with the Grey Cup Queens. Let's have a look at that film right now.
The city of Vancouver is Grey Cup headquarters, 1966 in Canada, and this is Dick Irvine on a very pleasant assignment for Hockey Night in Canada. With me are the contestants in this year's Miss Grey Cup contest, always one of the highlights of any Grey Cup celebration in Canada, and in the next couple of minutes we're going to chat with the girls and find out who they like as players and teams in the National Hockey League.
I'm Miss Hendrika Steenbaker's Miss Ottawa Rough Riders.
Hendrika, what hockey team in the National League is your favorite?
Boston.
Well, Boston's your favorite team. You must have a favorite player on the Bruins. Who is he and why?
Bobby Orr. I think it's just marvelous that someone so young can be so terrific, and his defense playing is just out of this world. Hello, I'm Myrna Kuzovich from Winnipeg.
And Myrna, Miss Winnipeg Blue Bomber, you have a favorite hockey player in the National League, I'm sure. Who is he?
Bobby Hall, naturally.
Did you meet Bobby when he was out in Winnipeg?
Yes, I did. He crowned me as Miss Blue Bomber.
I'm Miss B.C. Lyons, Sandra Ann Hislop.
And Sandra, in the National Hockey League, as you are here in Vancouver watching the games on TV, what team do you cheer for the hardest?
Oh, I think Toronto Maple Leafs. I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
My name's Margot Dunlap. I'm Miss Edmonton Eskimo.
Margot, I understand you were chosen Miss Congeniality here at the Grey Cup. What does this mean exactly?
Well, I think it means the girls all picked a girl that they thought was happy all the time, I guess.
Okay, you're going to make us very happy by picking your favorite hockey player and tell us why he is your favorite.
Bobby Hall, because he's so good looking, and I think he's a good skater and a good stick handler, and just all around.
I'm Lynn Aston, Miss Montreal Alouette of 1966.
And Lynn, I hope it goes without saying that the Canadiens are your favorite hockey team.
They certainly are.
What about the Canadiens this year? What do you see in store for them?
Well, I hope they'll go to the Stanley Cup. I hope they win it. I'm Wendy Allen, Miss Calgary Stampeder.
And Miss Calgary Stampeder, who is your favorite Mr. National Hockey League player?
Bobby Hall.
And why?
He is such a sweetie. My name is Marion Harris, and I am Miss Hamilton Tiger Cat, 1966.
And Marion was the second runner-up in the Miss Grey Cup contest. Marion, do you have a favorite hockey player and why?
Yes, it's Bobby Hall, and I think it's mainly because Bobby has a lot of advertising, and he's the only one that I really hear a lot about.
Joanne Martin, Miss Saskatchewan Rough Rider.
And Joanne, you were the first runner-up in the Miss Grey Cup contest, so congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
As you are in Regina during the winter months watching the National Hockey League in action, who's your favorite player and why?
I think I'll have to say Bobby Hall. He's a fantastic player, a real good sportsman, and just an all-around good sport.
I'm Dale Ann Young, Miss Toronto Argonaut.
And Dale Ann, congratulations, because this is Miss Grey Cup of 1966. Must have been quite a thrill for you.
Oh, the most exciting moment in my life.
Well, congratulations in order all around. I assume that the Toronto Maple Leafs are your favorite hockey team.
Yes, they are.
And what player on the Leafs do you like?
I have to say Terry Sawchuk.
And why?
I think he's so mysterious behind that mask.
Good point. On the other teams now, who's your favorite player, let's say, outside the Maple Leafs?
Bobby Nevin.
Of course, he used to play for Toronto.
Toronto.
What team do you like to see the Maple Leafs beat?
At the moment, the Montreal Canadiens.
That old Montreal-Toronto rivalry. Congratulations again on being named Miss Grey Cup 1966.
Thank you very much.
This is Dick Irvine reporting to Hockey Night in Canada from Vancouver.
Thank you very much, Dick Irvine out in Vancouver. As I said before, that Dick gets all the great assignments. We'll continue with the remainder of our intermission in just a moment.
When you sold your old house and are moving, the problems. Like taking down the woofers and tweeters with their complex wiring, or wrapping the vase your Aunt Mirabelle gave you. But when you're an Esso home heat user moving most anywhere in Canada, one worry you don't have is your oil furnace, whether it's old or new. Your Esso home heat service man will have topped up the tank and checked out the furnace. You've moved, but the problems. like installing the woofers and tweeters with their complex wiring or unwrapping the vase your Aunt Mirabelle gave you. But as for your oil furnace, no worries, because your new Esso Home Heat Service man will be there to introduce himself, to explain your new furnace and how it works. Moving out or moving in, call Imperial Oil to make sure you keep on enjoying that nice, warm feeling.
As every Canadian should know by now, 1967 is the year of Expo, and certainly you should know also that it's Canada's 100th birthday. Centennial and Expo celebrations in the city of Montreal next year, all under the tremendous guidance of the Mayor of Montreal, the very dynamic Jean Drapeau. Mr. Mayor, very nice to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
How are things going with the fair?
Well, everything is going fine. There's no doubt it will be ready on time, and people will discover and decide what they've discovered in the underground of Montreal.
Something pretty wonderful.
Something, nothing like that before.
Well, you're here tonight really not to talk so much about Expo as you are to talk about one of the Centennial projects and an Expo project, the Canadian Open.
Absolutely, which will take place on the municipal golf court right here in Montreal at the end of June. And I'm here to remind you personally that if you don't want to miss this, you better buy your ticket now, because I know what's happening. When people want to get tickets and they cannot, they ask the mayor. Oh, let's call the mayor. You will find us a ticket. I want to tell all golf fans now that I will not be able to get tickets at the last moment. There will be hundreds of thousands of people in Montreal at the period of the year, and all the tickets will already be sold. So in order to have the people get their tickets now and make a saving at the same time, the ticket good for the entire Open is $15, but if they are bought, if you buy it before December the 31st or January the 31st, it's only $10 instead of $15. And that will avoid my staff at the mayor's office to answer, sorry, sir, the mayor can do nothing about it.
This is going to be quite an event, Mr. Mayor, and I'm hopeful that a lot of our viewers are going to take your hint, but we have a customer for you right alongside in the person of Andy Bathgate of the Detroit Red Wings, a fine professional golfer, and Andy, I'd like you to meet the mayor.
Very pleased to meet you.
Meet you, sir.
Andy has played in the Canadian Open in the past. I think maybe he'd be very happy to buy one of these.
Well, are you taking part in the Canadian Open next summer?
I don't know at this time, but I'm sure I'll be here.
You'll be here to watch the players.
Well, there's certainly going to be some good players here, and there's a lot of money at stake, so I think you'll possibly have one of the greatest fields in Canadian Open history.
Well, what does, because you're a golf player, I'm not a golf player, what does represent really for people like me holding the Canadian Open in Montreal in 67?
Well, I think it'll really help with the Expo here, but I still, with fellows like Gary Player, and I heard Arnold Palmer is going to be here, this will be a tremendous attraction, and I'm sure Jack Nicklaus will possibly be here too. And with these three fellows, you're guaranteed of a tremendous attraction.
And is it true that $200,000 have never been offered for the same Canadian Open?
Well, this is the largest amount of money for the Canadian Open, and I don't think there'll be too many players miss this one. And I think the golf course, I've heard a lot about it, and it'll be a real good test for them, and this is a real good thing for them. And a very easy course seems to keep the people away, but a tough course will bring them out that much more.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say this, because, again, not being a golf fan,
You will be by next summer.
I'm sure, because I can watch the players. If I don't have my own ticket, I can watch them play from my own house. I'm living just opposite the municipal golf course.
So, Mr. Mayor, that's not fair. You've got to buy a ticket.
I don't see that I will have a beautiful spot from where to watch every move, but nevertheless, I can have a look at the entire ground court.
If you're that close, I'm allowed to be in your yard.
Well, drop in. Drop in, and we will celebrate the victory of the winner of the first prize. And I understand that you're a buyer. In your case, not being Montreal, would you accept this as my personal gift?
Thank you very much.
I'm very, very pleased, and I hope I'll be seeing you next summer.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of people from Ontario here also.
And let's not talk about the game of tonight.
Okay. We'll do our best there, too.
Thank you very much, Andy. Mr. Mayor, congratulations on what you've done to bring this to Montreal. I'm sure it's going to be a tremendous success.
Thank you, sir.
In just a moment, we'll return to Danny Gallivan and Dan Kelly for the play-by-play of the second period.
This is a new battery. At the end of this message, you will forget it. You will forget that this one-piece power package is leak-proof, non-corrosive, vibration-resistant. You will forget that it delivers up to 17% more starting power than our previous battery. You will even forget the name, Atlas Extra Heavy Duty. Why should you remember? There's nothing wrong with your present battery. But some morning when your car won't start, it will all come back to you. And you will call your SO dealer to install a new Atlas Extra Heavy Duty battery. You will hand him your SO-matic credit card. And then you will forget all about batteries again for a long, long time. This auto-suggestion brought to you by Atlas Batteries. Atlas Batteries. Just another service from Esso.
The Canadiens 2, Red Wings 1 were all set for the start of the second period. In that first period, Detroit outshot Montreal 12-4, but the Canadiens outscored Detroit 2-1. In fact, it was a rather scrambly period for the most part. Gilles Tremblay, Backstrom, and Provo for Montreal. Backstrom clearing it up to Provo. Del Vecchio jammed him out of the play. Del Vecchio is on with Howe and Hampson. Now it's centered in front. There's a shot by Gilles Tremblay. And Basson going down made a big save. Howe in the corner for Detroit. Feeds it to Bergman. Backstrom is after him. Now Howe takes his time, gets a long pass off Provo's stick, and it ends up short, and Duff for Montreal. McCord jammed in on the boards by Duff. He centered it. And there's a shot by Duff as Goigan failed to see it. McGregor on the boards. Duff trying to tie him up. Here goes Russo. He hooks it. He gets it out in front. Harper, a backhand shot off McCord's stick to the corner. McCord gets it ahead to Ullman. Ullman coming down. Hands it off to Smith. Smith shoots it into the corner. McGregor racing in there against Harper. And Richard played it back into the corner. McGregor had another shot at it. Richard upended. Incidentally, we had just 2 penalties in that first period, 1 to each team. Here's Goigan at the point, trying to keep it in. There's a pass to Russo. Down with Richard. Loose puck. Duff shoots a booming shot. And Duff was high and wide with that. Ullman back for the Red Wings with McGregor and Smith. Stopped at the line. Richard coming away with Price. Price a pass to Russo. Russo over to Richard. Richard passes it back in front. And Ullman hands it off to McGregor. Harper slides it back in for Montreal. And Goigan, he's back up from Pittsburgh for Detroit. Flipped it along the left wing boards down into Montreal territory. Canadiens 2, the Red Wings 1 after 2 minutes and 25 seconds of play here in the middle period. There's a pass to Ab McDonald. His pass back hit Harper. Russo starting away with Duff and Richard. Richard takes it, goes to the line, and Boyven cleared it back to center. Price, a long lob shot. And 24, McCord, he has scored the only goal for the Detroit Red Wings here tonight. Here's Ab McDonald. Goes to Watson. Back over to Ab McDonald. He got out nicely, goes down to the Montreal line, trying to barge in there. And Worsley cleared it on the boards for Rochefort. Rochefort ahead to Ferguson, off his skate. Watson back there quickly for Detroit, steeps around the net, picking his way out. He still has it. Almost belted there by Ferguson, who just got a piece of him, and then Ferguson went down.
Danny, there's been some kind of a mix-up in the first period in Toronto. It's 1-1. Marat scored for the Bruins from McKenzie and Orr at 3:57. Then Ron Ellis for the Leafs from Jeffrey and Red Kelly at 14:21. 1-1, Toronto-Boston in the first period.
And the weather here in Montreal tonight, very balmy, as a matter of fact. Overcast, with the temperature a mild 43 degrees. Face off at the Detroit line. Ted Harris, a long shot. Boyven takes it up, gets away from him. Cornwallier trying to center it. Now Cornwallier gets it again. It bounces, and Boyven takes over. Here's Dave Ballone going to the corner. Bathgate bumping with Cornwallier. Ab McDonald getting it ahead. Watson trying to get clear of Ted Harris. Harris gets it up on the left wing. Rochefort knifed it ahead. Bergman, a pass to McDonald. He couldn't get anywhere against Ted Harris, and the checking again getting very close. Cornwallier, a back pass to Rochefort. He passes it over on an open wing. Boyven in his own zone, and we played exactly 4 minutes in this, the second period. Dave Ballone fighting for possession. Now Watson flipped it ahead on the right side. Ed Harris has to go to his own zone to get it. To Rochefort. Rochefort belted there by Pete Mahovlich. Here's Bathgate going in. He's jammed out of the play by Harris. Cornwallier belted, and then Rochefort knocked to the ice as he cleared it down the ice, and the Canadians called on the icing infraction. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Exclusive at the fair, exclusive everywhere. The exclusive source of official Expo information is Esso.
4 minutes and 28 seconds have gone by. This is the second period, 2-1. Canadians leading, and we got a correction on what we thought was a scoreless first period in Toronto. It's tied 1-1. Now Goygan, a screen shot. He's wide. Number 15, Jarrett, jammed in on the boards, passed it to the side. Gilles Tremblay working out with Backstrom and Provo. Tremblay, a long shot. The rebound. Here's Tremblay near the corner trying to center it. He's belted by Mahovlich. And Goygan, long pass to center. Over it goes to Jarrett, finally picked up by Ullman. Mahovlich going in against Harper. Provo getting it ahead on the right side. And back for it goes McCord. To touch the stick, it's not called for icing. McCord waits. Left wing pass to Goygan. Goygan hit Provo with his pass. Now he tries it again. Provo gets it back. He takes the shot right on the rebound. And Goygan cleared it. Provo again. Mahovlich for the Detroit Red Wings to Normie Ullman. Pass intended for Jarrett, broken up by Price. Price ahead to Backstrom. He shoots it off toward the corner. 2-1, Canadians leading the Red Wings. Off the boards, it goes to center. Harper trying to get by Mahovlich. Finally, Provo shoots it in. And McCord going to try it again for the Detroit Red Wings to Mahovlich. Over to Normie Ullman. Ullman a pass. Here's Jarrett cutting it on that right side, getting in a goal, and he lost it off his stick. Back it comes near the point. Goygan's shot stopped by Price. Richard on the ice for Montreal, turning in front of Worsley. Richard with Russo and Duck. At center for the pocket. In over the line. He still has it. Goes around the net. Getting set. He sends it right in front of Russo. He shoots. Hits the goal post. Another shot. And he shot it wide. Great play by Richard, setting up Russo. Here's Mahovlich losing it to Duff right in front of shot by Richard. And Basson coming up with a big save. And it's opening up here. Detroit clearing it into the center ice area. First it was Jarrett, and then Russo. Here's LaPerriere back to Duff, a shot. Richard couldn't come up with it in front of Basson. Ullman in behind the Detroit goalie Basson. He hit Richard with an attempted clearing pass. Comes to the point, not out. Richard centers it. Goygan into the corner. Russo takes it away from him, back to the point to LaPerriere, the shot. And Goygan ahead to Normie Ullman, down with Del Vecchio. A pass to Del Vecchio, he takes the shot, the rebound. He centered it, and the Canadians. Russo gets it to the point, not out. Boyven clearing it back in, Normie Ullman centered it, and Russo shoots it off the boards, down the ice it goes. And we've played 7 minutes and 24 seconds in this second period. Del Vecchio, a high bouncing shot. LaPerriere off the boards, plays it up over the line. Backstrom reaches it. He's going down on that left side. He's trying to cut in. And a great back-checking effort by Teddy Hampson. Picked it up for Detroit. Del Vecchio passes it back over on the wing. Gilles Tremblay to Ted Harris. Fails to set up Backstrom, and Bergman clears it into the Canadian zone for the Red Wings. Provo lost it and went back to Harris. Gives it to Gilles Tremblay. Gordie Howe trying to center it. It comes right out in front. And Hampson couldn't get a clear shot on Worsley. Provo just lobbed it ahead down the ice. Boyven returned it to Provo. Now then Del Vecchio neatly got away from Backstrom. Swings over on that right wing. Flipped it ahead. Hampson going in. Worsley getting it to LaPerriere. Here's Del Vecchio getting it in front. Provo to Gilles Tremblay. Back to Provo with Backstrom trailing. In over the line. Provo shoots it in there. And it's kicked out by Basson. Gilles Tremblay back to Ted Harris. His shot finally off the boards. Boyven to Del Vecchio. Back to Boyven. Down with Hampson. Here's Boyven getting set for the shot off Ted Harris's leg. Hampson back near the point. And he lost it, and it's out to center ice. Hampson. The shot hit Ted Harris. Gordie Howe, a long, long shot. And the teams are changing on the move with just over 10 minutes remaining. Here's Dave Ballone cutting from the left side. Shot off the glove of Basson. McDonald to Bathgate. Back it goes to Brian Watson. He couldn't get anywhere. Rochefort to Cornwallier. Bathgate. A pass goes to center. Goes bouncing high in the air. And finally Ab McDonald flipped it ahead. And Boyven shoots it in on the board. Harper's pass grabbed off there by Brian Watson. He backhands it into the corner. And that's Noel Price in possession for Montreal. On the boards, Rochefort catching up with it, going down with Cornwallier. Cornwallier has it. He's over the line, dropped it back. And Detroit starting back with Bathgate. Bathgate hitting that line. He still has it. Centers it in front. And McCord was out of position. Noel Price up on the right side of Rochefort. Rochefort with Cornwallier. They shoot it in there. Basson away out of goal. Dave Ballone back to the point. Here's Harper getting set for a screen shot. Another shot for Rochefort. A loose puck. And Basson down, and he smothers it.
Danny, the Red Wings have lost 5 games in a row coming into this hockey game, and they've made a change in goal. Of course, Roger Crozier out of there and Basson in. Here's the replay of that goal mouth shot by Leon Rochefort with Basson lying right across the crease. The Red Wings are playing this game tonight without 4 players. Paul Henderson, who has scored 9 goals, is out with a bronchial condition. Defenseman Bert Marshall not playing because of a bruised shoulder. Left winger Dean Prentice out with a twisted ankle, and Val Fontaine has been out since training camp with a broken finger. Canadians are without Jean Beliveau, who has a groin injury, and J.C. Tremblay, who is still suffering the effects of a head injury picked up in a game here 2 weeks ago. However, Tremblay is skating and expects to be back in action by the middle of this week.
We have Normie Ullman, McGregor, and Smith for Detroit against Duff, Richard, and Rousseau for Montreal. Canadians leading 2-1. Harper off the boards, slapped it wide. Goigan from the corner. It's knocked down by Rousseau. Rousseau backhands it, and it's McCord swinging the pass out on the left side off the boards. Normie Ullman scooping it in, and Duff in there to take over. Duff sidesteps Smith, coming up. Loses it near center. McCord flipped it back in. It's offside. There's been a peculiar pattern of performance in the play of the Detroit Red Wings so far this season. As you will recall, the Wings got off to that bumpy start, and so did the Canadiens. Certainly after their first 3 games, they've had a rough time, and Blake has had his trouble. Detroit then settled down, and now they're back in a bad slump. Price to Richard. Richard to Duff. He was checked by McCord. Smith for the Detroit Red Wings. Over it goes to McCord. McCord's pass went off Richard's stick, and Price put it on McGregor's stick. McGregor coming in, playing it on the boards. Got by Harper, bumping with Duff in the corner, trying to get it clear, and finally it's held there by Harper. Montreal 2, Detroit 1. There's Goigan, a shot. Blocked by Harper. Try to set a pass over to Richard at center. And finally, Duff, with Richard and Russo running into each other. Goigan having difficulty against Richard. Here's Russo getting a loose puck. He passed it back, and Normie Ullman cleared it with Richard going in there to get that loose puck. Goigan to McGregor. Ullman starting out. A pass goes over on an open wing, and Price cleared it to Duff. He slammed it in over the Detroit line, and Goigan is there to take over. Off the boards again. And it's getting that scrambly pattern once again that was so evident in the first period. It's icing called against the Montreal Canadiens, who lead the Detroit Red Wings 2-1, and this game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
With Esso oil, heat people, no wonder you have that nice warm feeling.
Have Normie Ullman, McGregor, and Smith for Detroit against Duff, Richard, and Russo for Montreal. Canadians leading 2-1. Harper off the boards, slapped it wide. Goigan from the corner. It's knocked down by Russo. Russo backhands it, and it's McCord swinging the pass out on the left side off the boards. Normie Ullman scooping it in, and Duff in there to take over. Duff sidesteps Smith, coming up. Loses it near center. McCord flipped it back in. It's offside. There's been a peculiar pattern of performance in the play of the Detroit Red Wings so far this season. As you will recall, the Wings got off to that bumpy start, and so did the Canadiens. Certainly after their first 3 games, they've had a rough time, and Blake has had his trouble. Detroit then settled down, and now they're back in a bad slump. Price to Richard. Richard to Duff. He was checked by McCord. Smith for the Detroit Red Wings. Over it goes to McCord. McCord's pass went off Richard's stick, and Price put it on McGregor's stick. McGregor coming in, playing it on the boards. Got by Harper, bumping with Duff in the corner, trying to get it clear, and finally it's held there by Harper. Montreal 2, Detroit 1. There's Goigan, a shot. Blocked by Harper. Try to set a pass over to Richard at center. And finally, Duff, with Richard and Russo running into each other. Goigan having difficulty against Richard. Here's Russo getting a loose puck. He passed it back, and Normie Ullman cleared it with Richard going in there to get that loose puck. Goigan to McGregor. Ullman starting out. A pass goes over on an open wing, and Price cleared it to Duff. He slammed it in over the Detroit line, and Goigan is there to take over. Off the boards again, and it's getting that scrambly pattern once again that was so evident in the first period. It's icing called against the Montreal Canadiens, who lead the Detroit Red Wings 2-1, and this game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
With Esso oil, heat people, no wonder you have that nice warm feeling.
Something has been tossed on the ice, apparently, down there in that area in front of Hank Bassin, and that's holding up the game. Toronto now leading Boston 2-1. And Dan, I guess you have the name of the scorer.
Frank Mahovlich, Danny, from Keon and Stanley at 5:51 of the second period.
And while they manicure the ice and take the debris off it, the game is going to be held up. In the National Hockey League tomorrow night, the Canadiens will have the night off, and that'll be their final Sunday respite until April the 2nd. And that's the way that we'd like to get into the announcement that the radio, CBC radio version of NHL hockey tomorrow night on the network will be Foster Hewitt bringing you the play-by-play from Madison Square Garden, where the Toronto Maple Leafs will meet up with the red-hot New York Rangers.
The red-hot New York Rangers, definitely, Danny. They've moved into a tie for second place with that win today. With 17 points, they're tied with Toronto, just 3 back of
league-leading Chicago. And, of course, Boston next with 15, then the Canadiens with 13, and Detroit with 10. The Red Wings, by the way, this is their 9th road game of this season, and in the previous 8 games away from the Olympia, they have yet to pick up a point. They have yet to gain either a win or a tie on the road this year. Still some trouble. Apparently now it's been rectified down at the Detroit end of the rink, where Hank Basson is situated in place of Roger Crozier tonight, whom Sid Abel says, by the way, Crozier won't be back in goal until he starts to show he's sharp again in practice.
Gordie Howe against Ralph Backstrom. Detroit every man up. They need a goal to tie. Ted Harris on the boards with Howe checking him. The puck goes over the glass. All the scoring in the game in the first period. McCord from Hampson and Howe. And then Montreal, Richard from Rousseau and Price, and Rochefort unassisted. Howe gets it back to the point. Bob Wall cleared it in on the boards to Hampson. He's jammed out of the play by LaPerriere. Backstrom going in to help out. And at the point again, Wall, he gets it to Del Vecchio at the side. Del Vecchio center it. A hopping puck. It's centered back again by Del Vecchio. Down the ice it goes. 7 minutes and 32 seconds remain in the second period. Howe put it on Provo's stick. Provo lost it to Del Vecchio. He couldn't get by Ted Harris. Backstrom bodied by Hampson. Provo rolls it in on the right side, and Bergman in for the Detroit Red Wings. Around the net to swing away from Gilles Tremblay. Gets away from Backstrom. A pass to center to Del Vecchio. Del Vecchio try to set up Hampson, and Provo has it. Here's Bergman with Gordie Howe. Backhand shot, a long one. And Ted Harris on the boards to Provo. Provo to Backstrom. Backstrom with Gilles Tremblay. Tremblay cleared it over on the wing at the Detroit line. Backstrom skating in against Howe. And Hampson has it. Here's Gilles Tremblay centering it back. And it goes through Ted Harris and LaPerriere. And Ted Harris, of course, was the nearer of the two. LaPerriere back for it. Up to the line. Dave Ballone fails to negotiate contact with that pass. Down the ice it goes, and the Canadiens call for icing. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Get a grip on yourself. Slide down to your Esso dealer for Atlas WeatherGuard S winter tires. Just another service from Esso.
6 minutes, 28 seconds remain in the second period. Bathgate, Ab McDonald, and Brian Watson. McCord and Goigan for Detroit on defense playing up. Ferguson, Ballone, and Rochefort for Montreal. Referee Friday watching Watson and Ferguson. Now it's back. Here's McCord. A backhand shot off Ferguson's stick. It bounces high in the air to the corner. Noel Price coming up with it. A right wing pass to Rochefort. Ferguson trying to corral it at center. Watson is staying with him. Basson away out of the net. Cleared it around the net. And here's Watson coming down. He's jammed out of the play by Ballone. Ferguson shooting it back in, and Watson and Ballone almost decapitated each other, getting their sticks up high. Down the ice it goes. Icing called against Detroit. See Toll Blake there, Dan. We'd like to extend to Toll and to Mrs. Blake Betty. Congratulations. They celebrated their 32nd wedding anniversary this week. And I suppose the present he wanted most was some hockey victories.
I imagine so. I guess the anniversary was spent while Toll was on the road with the Canadiens, too. Incidentally, on the ice now, there are several players from Western Canada, of course, who would be very happy with that victory by the Saskatchewan Roughriders today, but particularly two, Danny, both of the members of the Montreal Canadiens and both Saskatchewan boys, Terry Harper and Dave Ballone.
And there's a broadcaster up here from Ottawa who probably was not happy with the Regina victory, Dan Kelly.
Not really. A tremendous football game, and I think it's a tremendous thing for the game of football, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have such a great history in the game, to come on and win a Grey Cup. And Ottawa's won it before, and they've had a great season anyway, Danny.
Well, they're jumping with joy in the streets of Regina tonight, and you get hospitality. You've been out there, of course, Dan. They're tremendously hospitable people, and they'll have a good reason for being hospitable tonight. Well, there's Gump Worsley. Canadians have a 2-1 lead here. And like the fortunes of the Canadians, the fortunes of their players, and that includes their goaltenders, Worsley and Hodge, have been up and down. And there's a fellow who's having his problems of late. Aside from the fact the team is giving up a lot of goals, he's been hard hit with injuries.
At the end of this period, Danny, Jean Beliveau's trip to the Far East this past summer will be our feature on Hockey Night in Canada.
Canadians every man up for the face-off. Now it's out over the line, knocked back in, gloved in there by Harper. And it's an offside called against the Montreal Canadiens with 5 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the second period. Mahovlich, Bathgate, and Jarrett, the forwards for Detroit. McCord to Bathgate. He flipped a shot in there. And here's Noel Price from behind the net, clearing it to the corner. Bathgate going in. They both overskated it, and it's Ferguson. Right wing pass. Rochefort couldn't get it. And Goygan cleared it back down to the Canadian line. And this has developed into a rather scrambly, dull type of hockey the last few minutes. And one of the fans who has become restive is using the cowbell. Now Noel Price up on the left side for Ferguson. Ferguson takes the shot off McCord, who cleared it out. Loose puck at center. Price gets it to the right wing, and it's back to Rochefort. Rochefort getting by Bathgate, but he couldn't get all the way by him, and Bathgate has a pass go to Mahovlich. Mahovlich working his way in, and it's Dave Ballone circling on the right wing boards. Mahovlich takes it from him, the shot, and it's Noel Price, a pass to Ferguson. He's having difficulty, gets it to Ballone. McCord stopped it, takes the shot, and Harper around the net, played it on the boards out over the line. Goygan gets it to Mahovlich. Mahovlich coming in there with Bathgate. Ferguson takes it. He's poke checked. Here's Bathgate trying to work his way in. He still has it back. It goes to Jarrett on the boards. Ferguson at the point. Goygan knocked it down. There's a shot, a rebound to Jarrett, and it's knocked away there by Price. And Canadians having difficulty. There's a shot. Harper comes up with it, with Bathgate and Jarrett looking for a rebound. 4 minutes and 15 seconds left. This game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Presenting North America's most honored service station credit card. Why not get one? It's just another service from Esso.
Montreal 2, Detroit 1. Smith, Ullman, McGregor, Boyven, and Bergman all up for the Detroit Red Wings. Now it goes to McGregor in the corner. He centers it. Ullman tied up. Rousseau fired it up on the wing. Dick Duff going after it, but Boyven poked it away. Here's Richard, who has played a fine game for Montreal tonight. A long pass. Oh, Rousseau almost got a breakthrough there. Now Rousseau stays with it, but McGregor takes it away. He ran into Ted Harris. Boyven shoots it off the boards. Goes to Smith. He centered it! And off Worsley skated, almost within the goal. Rousseau away to Richard. Richard coming down with Duff. Richard has it knocked off his stick. Normie Ullman coming away with Smith and McGregor for Detroit. Ullman, a pass to McGregor. He tried to get it back, and it was blocked there by Harris ahead of Richard. Richard with Duff over the line. Gives it to Duff. Duff trying to center it, and Bergman takes over. Bergman plays it on the left wing boards to center. Ted Harris shoots it back in offside with 3 minutes and 14 seconds left in the period. Face off in the center ice area. Ted Harris over off the boards to LaPerriere. LaPerriere shoots it down the ice, and again we'll have an icing whistle. And of course, when you have a frequency of whistles, particularly those engineered by icing, it certainly slows up any continuity or concerted offensive effort in the game. Detroit with the defense of Boyven and Bergman up. They need a goal to tie it up. Back it goes to McGregor. McGregor trying to control it. Still has it, goes on the boards, and Russo comes up with it. He's breaking out with Duff. Russo on the right side, getting set for that hard shot. There it is, the rebound. And Boyven cleared it on the boards to the corner. Ullman to Smith. Smith back to Normie Ullman, working his way down to the Montreal line. Stick handling neatly, still has it. Plays it back to the point. Bergman keeps it in there. And it did come out for the offside. 2 minutes, 36 seconds left.
The Red Wings have made a couple of changes in this slump, Danny. They brought up Pete Goigen from Pittsburgh, who, by the way, was the Pittsburgh team's leading scorer in the American League, despite the fact he's a defenseman. And Gary Jarrett, also up from Pittsburgh. And Sid Abel says he expects to make more changes when the club gets back to Detroit tomorrow.
LaPerriere slides it to Ted Harris to Ralph Backstrom. Backstrom shooting it in off the boards. Howe doesn't see it, then he gets it. Provo back to LaPerriere, getting set for the shot. And a stick save there by Basson. Goigen off Howe's skate. LaPerriere winds up again, blocked easily this time by Basson. That's McCord from the corner. He put it on Gilles Tremblay's stick, the shot. And Goigen lays it off the boards down the ice. Worsley watching it as Ted Harris goes back, and another icing infraction, this time against Detroit, with 1 minute and 59 seconds left in the second period. Del Vecchio doing the honors against Ralph Backstrom. Goigen with Backstrom in pursuit. Goigen clearing it ahead. Hampson coming down on the wing at the point. A pass goes over to Gordie Howe. Howe turning, getting set for another pass right in front to Hampson. He missed the open corner. Out it comes, and Del Vecchio couldn't get the shot. Now Del Vecchio back to Goigen. LaPerriere flipped it on the boards to center, and Hampson had a wonderful scoring opportunity to get that equalizer on the pass from Howe. And Detroit shooting it in again. LaPerriere from around the net, coming out, playing it on the boards, and McCord takes over for Detroit, ahead to Howe. Howe flips a long one to the corner. Hampson going in against LaPerriere. Hampson getting it. Howe has it on the boards, back to Hampson, a centering pass. Here's Gordie Howe with the rebound. He shoots, and Worsley got that arm out there. Goigen shoots it. Oh, it ricocheted off a stick high in the air. And Worsley had to be tremendously alert. Let's watch this.
Dump Worsley performing acrobatics around that Canadiens goal, as in a space of 10 seconds he made two good stops, especially that second one from the point, which was a tricky one, and I don't think he saw it until the last second.
So the Red Wings coming ever so close to getting the goal that will deadlock it. We're frustrated there by brilliant goaling and by a break here and there. Del Vecchio in on the boards against Richard and Gilles Tremblay. Play stop. And we have 51 seconds remaining in the period. So Howe goes over there, poised for a shot on the face-off. It's off the boards. McCord keeping it in. Harper missed it. Now Harper goes to the corner, giving it to Provo. Provo ahead to Richard. Richard, a long pass down the wing. It goes down the ice. And McCord touches it, icing against the Canadiens with 32 seconds remaining. You know, the vagaries of sport are demonstrated clearly by one quick look at the standings. Who's fighting it out for the 6th and 5th positions in the National Hockey League? The two teams that put on that thrilling Stanley Cup Final Series last year, Detroit and Montreal. And neither team so far tonight has come up with one of its better performances. Still Toronto 2, Boston 1. Here's Hampson getting it to Del Vecchio. Del Vecchio back to Hampson. Hampson around the net. Getting set to center it. Richard knocked it away from him. Richard playing it up on the left side to Gilles Tremblay. Tremblay over to Provo. 15 seconds remaining. Provo digging on the right side. It's centered in front. And it almost went in off Gordie Howe in front of Basson. Canadiens, Richard keeping it in. Richard. Pass over on this wing, 1 second, and the siren goes to end the second period. Montreal 2, Detroit 1.
Well, this past summer, the Canadiens captain, Jean Beliveau, paid a trip to the Far East to visit the Canadian forces along with the CBC talent troupe. And that's going to be our feature during this intermission as we look at Beliveau on that trip to the Far East. In just a moment, then, our second intermission.
Pardon me, sir, but could you please tell us why you pulled into an Esso service station?
Oh, well, I was just running out of gas.
Oh, yes, sir, but there must be some reason you chose an Esso station instead of another.
I see. No, I haven't thought about it, frankly.
Well, just look around you, sir. There must be something.
No, I don't.
Try S. Something beginning with F.
Let's see, S. Oh, it's sanitary water.
Yes, they are, sir, but can't you think of something else that S begins with S?
Scientific research?
No, but you're getting warmer.
Sports. Hockey. I watch it on television.
You're
very
close.
good.
You're very close. S. Sir. I've got it.
Service?
Yes!
Better service for your car. Just another service from Esso.
We promised to bring to you was Jean Belivaux's trip to Egypt last May. Let's turn to Jean. And Jean, how come?
Well, Frank, at the end of the regular schedule last year, Mr. Ken Dalziel from CBC Toronto called me, and incidentally, Mr. Dalziel has been organizing this tour for the last 6 years, and asked me if I would be a member of this tour. I was a little surprised at first, because I know this kind of tour or this troupe are more entertainers than maybe a sport, but I have to say that after coming back, I think all the soldiers were pretty well interested, pretty happy to see all the troops and talk a little bit about hockey.
I imagine you were pretty happy to go along, too.
Yes, I was very pleased. I've been fortunate enough to travel quite a bit in the past, but this trip was a great experience.
A very unique trip, I think, Jean. We have the film here. You are opening up at Camp Rafa.
Yes, that's where the Canadian forces are in Camp Rafa, and that's the gate, military police. And I think
They're in good hands.
Yeah, we were going out of the camp for a little sightseeing during that day.
Jean, the map that was in the background, that is the territory that's being patrolled, I presume.
Yes, and that's mapped around Camp Rafa.
Where were you headed on this particular day, Jean?
I think we just arrived in Rafa, maybe. We're going to the sand dunes. We were all anxious to see that, heard a lot about those sand dunes, and it made quite an impression on us.
Something you'd never seen before?
No.
I think this is going to make quite an impression upon you, too.
Well, this is, I think, the second day, and incidentally, the weather that day was about 130 degrees. This is Egyptian troops who are patrolling, I would say, all along the Mediterranean Sea. And we asked them and if we could ride one of their
The dromedary.
Dromedary, yeah, there's only.
You don't mind if I say that you don't look too comfortable?
No, there's a saddle, mostly a wooden piece made of wood, and we went just for a little ride for about 30 or 40 feet.
Yeah, in other words, you're telling us you wouldn't trust that dromedary too far.
Well, I don't know. In the desert, I think they might be pretty handy.
I understand they go as fast as 40 miles an hour, Jean, but it doesn't look as though you gave them an opportunity.
No, we didn't go too far.
That's the beautiful Mediterranean Sea in the background. That must have been quite a sight for you also.
Yeah, and especially that day being so warm, we went for a little swim.
Is that you on the right, John?
Yeah, on the right. It's very salty, I found, more than the Atlantic and Pacific Sea.
How'd you like to be there right now?
Well, maybe maybe a good place. In front is Captain Dave Hales, who has been with us all the tour and very helpful.
And these are members of the troop, I presume?
Yes, this is a member of the troop. I think that's one of the Lounsbury sisters, and that's a soldier. So they work from 7:30 in the morning to 1 o'clock, and after one, they're allowed to go on the beach. And it was funny to talk about hockey when the weather was so high.
This doesn't look like a hockey game, John.
No, they have quite a bit of free time because of the weather, so they are pretty well organized with sport. I think that they were in the finals of their softball league. You can see the way the men dress at the pretty warm weather. But it's very dry. It's not as humid as here, and it's warm, but I would say not comfortable.
Who are your friends, John?
Well, here that's Go Girl, they call it. Here's a Gordy Tapp, sang autograph to Caporal Brunet, I think. And here we are in front of the officers' mess. They were trying to grow a little grass. It's not easy.
It's, I would presume it's all sand there.
It's all sand, yeah. I would say that 4 or 5 miles inside the Mediterranean Ocean, there's a little green, but when you go 8, 10, 25 miles, mostly sand.
I mean, you're pretty happy you don't have that problem in your home in Longueuil.
No.
What kind of trees are those in the background, John?
The real name, I don't know, Frank. I think the only thing was growing, they were telling me, is watermelon. Because at night it gets maybe around 50 degrees, so it made a kind of a wet climate, and that's allowed the watermelon to grow.
We have an awful lot more of that film to look at, John, and we'll be back to it in just a moment. Hockey Night in Canada continues in just a moment.
The first half of tonight's game has been brought to you by Imperial Oil Limited and Esso dealers, agents, and distributors serving your community.
The second half of Hockey Night in Canada is brought to you by Molson's, independent brewers since 1786. Brewers of Molson Canadian Lager Beer and Molson Export Ale. In this big land of ours, you'll always find a touch of tradition in the taste of today.
See Ontario by train along the broad St. Lawrence. Enjoy as you go the good taste of ale with the flavor true. Enjoy a Molson Export Ale.
Ontario's towns and countryside pass as you relax and enjoy the ale that tastes the way you expect a fine ale should taste. Molson Export Ale.
See the rugged northern scenery from the cheerful club car. Meet traveling friends and order the big ale that's brewed for you. Enjoy a Molson Export Ale.
Canada's largest selling ale.
The big ale in the big land is Molson Export Ale.
From Molson's independent brewers since 1786.
Now, Jean, your trip, you must have met a lot of really remarkable people out there, the soldiers, the people in charge.
Yes, and I think for a troop going to visit armed forces, it's very nice when your CO or Captain or Colonel Bell, who was in charge of Camp Rafah, make things very easy for us. He was a real gentleman and was with us all the time, and I think that's why, one of the main reasons why this tour was so interesting.
Jean, George Armstrong and the Maple Leafs went on basically the same trip the year before. Did they remember George's visit?
Yes, and I would say I was certainly glad that we won the Stanley Cup, incidentally, because there's quite a few French Canadian or Canadian from the province of Quebec, but there's more coming from out west or Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into the rest of the film. It's very interesting, I know, and I'm sure the folks would like to have a look at it. Where are you now, Jean?
Well, most of the show were on at night, but except that day we were visiting the Indian Battalion, and the show was at 11 o'clock in the morning, and that's a UNEF or United Nations buses who were traveling, like I said, different camp were maybe 15, 20, 30 miles apart, and that morning we are with the Indian Battalion.
This is the Punjab regiment. I understand these fellows are pretty good hockey players, too.
Well, I think it's field hockey, not ice hockey.
No ice out there, Jean. This is Miss Landry.
And that here we have the officers' mess of the Indian Battalion.
Looks like
I had about 12 sticks signed by all the players and the Canadian crest, and after each reception, I left the hockey. So there's probably a hockey stick and one of our crests in the mess of the officers. That's a band, and that was during the reception of the Indian Battalion.
I can see you have one of your sticks there, Jean. Did you try to show the boys a little bit of stick handling on sand?
Well, when I was going on the stage, I was always coming with one little stick.
Now you're headed somewhere else. You must have been kept on the move quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a very busy schedule. It was no holiday. Here we are way down the Sinai Desert on the Red Sea. There's about 40 soldiers there. 32, I think, that they were Yugoslav, and about 8 Canadians. And they are sending, they're from Rafah for 3 months. There's nothing around. There's about an hour and 20, 25 minutes flight from Rafah or El Arish, the Air Force Base. And they're there for 3 months. They are at the tip of the Sinai Desert, and that's where the Gulf of Suez and the Aqaba Gulf, and they're there to each boat going up the Aqaba have to report.
This is not the Trans-Canada Highway, I'm sure.
No, I think that day we went for a drive for about 40 or 45 miles along the border. We were about, I think, 12 Jeep. They were Brazilian Brazilian Jeep. Here again, we are going up one of those sand dunes. I had a better view.
What sort of temperature would you have had at that particular time, John? Do you recall?
About 110. Around 110. That's the, if we can call that the road, in the desert along the border.
It's a very impressive sight, isn't it?
Yes. Here,
what is this?
The
like
Brazilian soldiers show your members of the troop how they're sliding down one of those sand dunes.
Almost looks like a clip from the Rat Patrol.
I think we're coming back from...
Where are we headed to now?
Here we are in Gaza, and that's the military cemetery. Most of the soldiers there are buried there from the First War, most of them English soldiers. We went one corner of this cemetery, that's where they bury the Canadian soldier, and I think a week or two before we arrived, 2 Canadian pilots from the Canadian Air Force crashed there, died, and went to pay a visit to the site.
It looks like a beautiful spot, John.
It's quite a place, very beautiful, and they've been able to grow those grass there, and they've been working. The morning we were there were quite a few men working.
Keeping things up. Jean, this is just about the end of the film, but not the end of our little chat with you. And here you are some months later after you have come back. You must have some reflections, some memories of that trip that you're going to treasure forever.
Yes, like I said, at first it was quite an experienced trip. Most of our soldiers, first of all, they go there for a year, and most of them are married, and I think going over there, it is certainly doing great duty for this country and keep the peace all over. So it was a great experience.
Jean, thank you very much. It was a great experience to share it with you tonight.
Thank you.
In just a moment, we'll continue with the play-by-play of the third period.
In this big land of ours, you'll always find a touch of tradition in the taste of today. An early Ontario clock, part of today's modern living, as is Molson Export Ale, the modern ale with the touch of tradition in its taste.
The big ale in the big land is Molson Export Ale.
An Ontario oxen yoke, adding color where people relax, as does the ale that tastes the way you expect a fine ale should taste. Molson Export Ale.
The big ale in the big land is Molson Export Ale.
A Pioneer Ontario spinning wheel adds character to modern design, as Molson Export Ale adds enjoyment to today's way of life. It's Canada's largest selling ale.
The big ale in the big land is Molson Export Ale.
From Molson's independent brewers since 1786.
Red Wings won with the third period coming up. At the end of the second period in Toronto, the Maple Leafs 2 and the Boston Bruins 1. Bill Friday, the referee, Bob Frampman, and Brent Castleman, the linesman.
Having some trouble down at the center ice red line with either something that's been thrown on the ice again or some other problem. Well, we have the moment, that summary of the Rangers 4-1 win over Chicago this afternoon. Nestorenko from Boyer and D. Hull at 13:51 of the first period. Then Marshall from Goyette and McNeil at 17:21 to tie it. The Rangers scored 3 in the third period. Ingerfield from Jeffreyon and Fleming. Fleming from Ingerfield and Jeffreyon. And Marshall is 9th of the year and 2nd of the game from Goyette and Nevin, as the Rangers won by 4-1 over Chicago and moved into that temporary tie for second place anyway with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, the Leafs playing tonight at home to Boston.
I don't know, Dan, what has been tossed on the ice there. Maybe salt. Looks something like sawdust or salt. The going is tough enough without having salt or sawdust on the ice. And scoring in the Toronto game, Marat from McKenzie and Orr, Ellis from Jeffrey and Kelly, and Mahavlich and Keon and Stanley. And that goal from Mahavlich is 7th of the year.
Danny, I'd imagine you'd find it pretty hard to believe, too, that Roger Crozier has been temporarily benched anyway by Sid Abel after the game we saw him play in Detroit a couple of weeks back when he and the Red Wings blanked the Canadiens 6-0. He was tremendous that night.
As a matter of fact, that was the time when the Red Wings were really moving. He put together back-to-back shutouts, 6-0 against Montreal, and then took Chicago 3-0. But of late, the Red Wings have been bombed. You mentioned the fact that in 8 games on the road, they haven't won a game at all. And they've given up 41 goals while scoring only 15. Incidentally, the only statistic to report on that second period, 13-8, Montreal outshot Detroit. No goals to report and no penalties. Only 2 penalties in the game, 1 to each team in the first period. From the face-off, it slides into the Detroit zone. That's Bergman with Backstrom after him. Bergman gets away from Backstrom. Up on the boards to Del Vecchio. His pass to center, gobbled up by Gilles Tremblay, who backhands it in there, and it's offside. Hampson, Del Vecchio, and Howe against Backstrom, Gilles Tremblay, and Provo. Boyven slides it over to Bergman out ahead. Ted Harris picking it up, ran into Boyven. They both went down. The puck in the corner. Bergman up toward the point. Del Vecchio flipped it ahead to Hampson, to Gordie Howe. Howe over the line, shoots it. Here's Hampson off the boards trying to center it. Gilles Tremblay working out from Montreal.